Hey all, so we have the final war of the season here against New Nation, and it's a big one, as you can tell by the duration of this video. It's also a scary one, as you may have been able to tell by the thumbnail. I hadn't said it out loud until I was planning this war on call with Na, but I was aware going into this one. Also, side note, incredible that this rank 2 Venom had enough health to survive a full harvest from this rank 4 Galan. The time will come. But I was aware going into this war that I had not died this season. And I am taking a fight in this video that I was very scared was going to change that. So we'll talk about that more when we get there. But yeah, if I come out this side, or if I come out the other side of this video healthy, then I will definitely have earned this season. Talking about this fight in front of us, I really like Reed for Mangog, because obviously he's not poison immune, he's not nullify immune, he doesn't actually answer those threats, but because of the debuff siphoner pre-fight that he has access to, he can get up to a 75% reduction to the strength of Man-Thing's, I may have said Mangog earlier, Man-Thing's poisons. So by the time we actually trigger one, you'll see we already are at a 50% reduction to those poisons. So by the time we trigger the first one, we're going to have both a poison and an armor break, which means we're going to have, see there it is, we actually are net positive pretty significantly on willpower here. And as long as we don't trigger too many of them, we're going to stay that way, especially in a second when, because this is going from 50 to 25, we actually just halved the damage of any further poisons. But we also get mildly lucky, and we don't get another, and we clear it out with a full yellow bar, reversing Mystic Dispersion, reversing Willpower, reversing Personal Space Regen. Reed just crushes that. We move on to Nick here. Galan is obviously Nullify immune. He does not ramp against a failed Nullify the way that he does against Power Drain on that first Venom fight. But the fact that Nick will not heal from the node, right? And will not go permanently unblockable as a result of it, makes this a much simpler fight. It's basically just a large Nick Fury that you're taking down normally. It's almost a Battlegrounds fight is really what it feels like. We go ahead and push to Special 2. We're trying to manage his charges, make sure that he's not going to go unblockable. We throw this Special 1, push him above 15 so that he's less likely to throw the Special 1 because it would no longer be unblockable. Push him to the Special 2 again. Like, the name of the game is just controlling Nick's charges. There is nothing to this fight other than managing when he goes unblockable and for how long and with how much power. Because everything else, I'm not worried about timing out, right? This isn't Battlegrounds, so there's no worry about like me killing him fast enough. I know that, I'm probably going to need one harvest to get through the first life. There we go. And now I'm going to work my way up to a second one to get through the second life. And that's going to be the full thing. We're going to take some block damage here. But again, all that matters is that we are managing his charges. And there we perfectly put him to 20 right as he crosses 2 bars. Don't have to worry about that Special 1. Parry to control a little bit, but the important thing is baiting out a heavy. Throw another Special 1. He could have thrown that, except he has the Fury, so it would actually have sent him not unblockable, so we were pretty safe. And at this point, I was just going for another heavy, and there we go. I bait out this Special 2, not because I need to. This Special 1 definitely would have killed, but just out of an overabundance of caution, because again, there is no time pressure on me here, and then we close it out. Exactly the kind of fight Galan was built for. Perfect counter. Moving on, we have Thing here. For those of you looking at my team, you may be wondering who my Thing counter is. I don't really have one here. I've done this fight before with Reed, because you deal with the healing, and then the debuff siphoner increases your own damage because it's another debuff. It is very important when fighting Thing with Reed to not apply suppression. If you apply suppression, you basically lose all control over his rock stacks, and you are probably going to die. So don't do that. But we can safely ramp the Petrify to control the healing. We don't have to worry about timing out. We can do good damage against Thing without doing giant crits, because that's not what Reed is really known for. And we can get through this fight nice and safely. Basically, the main risk of this fight is him being at 15 rock stacks and our debuffs falling off. That's the whole thing. And that is a real risk. But as long as you have ramped the rest of what you're doing, because notice we're almost at the Careful Study passive for the Special 1 here, then my Sig 200 Reed is going to have enough of his own combat power gain that that's just not really much of a concern. We do take him over 15 there. We're counting rock stacks very carefully. We actually lose the Careful Study there because we push him to the Special 2 instead of the Special 1. I was more focused on counting rock stacks and not being in a weird position than I was in getting the Careful Study. It is what it is. He surprises me there a little bit, but we do end up okay. I was going for a reparry there, did not work, but the goal was to push him to 15 again, and now we have to bait this out. Good, that works. Again, we're just not really getting the Careful Study here. Like I said, that's the goal. That is how you don't worry about this fight, because you have a bunch of combat power, but we're paying enough attention to the other complicating factors in this and Thing's kit that I haven't done that yet. So, clearly I forgot that I had this much trouble getting the passive up. That said, this does an absolute ton of damage because as long as protection isn't already up, Special 3s against Thing will do full damage and will then trigger protection. Just a reminder on how that works for the priorities. Yeah, block there because we really don't want him to throw it. Now push him to 15. He immediately throws the Special 1. We didn't really have a choice there. Getting him back up to the Special 2 without triggering the Unstoppable would have been, I think, literally impossible. He's healing here, but it is fully stopped. I back off, and now we push him to 15, and now the AI decides that they don't like me. What I probably should have done in hindsight, given the time that was left on our debuffs, was I should have pushed him to 14 and then gone for a parry, right? He's close enough to the next bar that even if he threw the Special 1 immediately instead of coming in for my parry, I probably would have been fine. I would have pushed him over the next bar. It would have been okay. So that would have been ideal, but at the same time, this is clearly not that bad either, because we were sitting on our Special 3 for a reason. Now we hit into him twice here. We are not ramped at all. We do get hit on purpose because we don't want to trigger the regen. But there we trigger the regen anyway. So clearly this isn't perfect. We're going to get back up to a Special 2. We are going to control this, and we're going to close this out. This time, the block works out for us. Our evade helps us out. We don't have to trigger the regen. And there we go. We start our ramp back up, which is important because otherwise we would have used charges. And we go for a reparry here. Knock him down. Beta Special at 15. We now do have the Careful Study. All this is to say, this is not a perfect counter. There are much, much, much better answers to Thing here, but I've done it before in an emergency. I knew I would be okay, and this meant that I didn't have to split the path, which was important because Reed is perfect for Longshot here. You do not have to be Nullify immune for this node, you just have to be able to control the healing. So for this one, basically what we're doing is just exactly the same as before, ramping and knocking him out. We're not even going to full ramp here, because there's basically nothing in Longshot's kit it's going to make me stop hitting him like there was with Thing. And so there's no risk going on here. We're half ramped. He's also a lot squishier, right? We're already down a full quarter. Make that 2/5. Like, yeah, just class advantage plus the extra damage from having debuffs plus Longshot just not being Thing makes this fight so much simpler and smoother. It was honestly a very nice break. Now that right there wasn't ideal. Did get clipped by the AI. Obviously not awesome. But now we're going to go ahead and close this out. I think I go for the special 3. Yeah. One thing I do want to call out, because it's come up once or twice now, Galan and Reed do have a synergy that is kind of the inverse of Reed's synergy with Dr. Doom. He gets a little bit of power when a personal debuff expires. So normally with Reed, your personal debuffs don't really expire. You don't want them to. It did happen against Thing. But for the most part, that means the shock on your special 2 or when you start throwing special 1s. It's a small synergy, but it's definitely a good one. Smooth the loops over. So next up we have this Korg here on Burden of Might. Is definitely a tricky one, right? With the bans that our opponents had made, Omega Sentinel was banned, Future Ant-Man was banned, Magneto House of X was banned. This was spooky. It very much was. Like, the fact that Korg immediately gained 3 prowess in this fight, when in my duels I never crit against him, is super fun. Now, right there, I was a moron. I hit into his block and got hit for it, so there goes my indestructible. That's kind of spooky, because if he goes to a special 3, the fight's probably over. But that aside, what you'll notice here is that Galan's first 2 light attacks are really, really good at breaking Korg's rock shield. Like, we bait the heavy, and we are just again and again and again hitting in with 2 lights and then doing some backdrafts, and we are able to completely avoid thorns. You'll also notice that Burden of Might has completely zeroed out at this point our combat power rate. We have no way to get to another bar of power just from all of these resistance buffs on us. But it doesn't matter, because remember, Galan doesn't actually need his specials to end the harvest. He just needs to go into the harvest and stay alive until it ends. So you see us doing that here again because we gained a ton of power on that first one. You also see Korg being extremely rude throwing these combos. It's obvious that something about the aggression nodes is off, right? Intimidate hasn't felt right. Wolverine Weapon X hasn't felt right. Korg normally throws specials when he goes unblockable and unstoppable. He didn't here. But that aside, Galan was a really good counter for him. Now, this is the fight I would have preferred not to take. I actually realized after the fact we did have my ideal counter in the field, but it was because somebody else's path changed and we didn't get her here. So I ended up taking it. And I knew going in, I have an invuln boost, because there's no way I'm not eating a special 3 here, right? I have to eat a special 3. Love that right there, as I'm trying to go for a hit, because I probably would have gotten to my special 2. But there's no way I'm not eating a special 3, because I can't reliably dex the special 2. It is possible. I dueled for it and I got it several times, but it is not reliable for me. And so the only option is pushing to the special 3. There's no way she's going to reliably be at her special 1. You see how much the tactic is glancing. Like, I didn't get my armor up on the first heavy. I'm not getting all of my prowess removals on my basics. You cannot rely on anything. This is purely a nuke fight. Now, I actually accurately predicted about how much power I was going to get back from Sunspot's special 2s, so in that sense, I used the correct power back boosts. But in another sense, I didn't really account for how much power I was going to be getting from eating special 3s. So that was clearly not ideal. And that did send me red there once. And so we eat our third special 3 here, which any one of these, if I had just gotten tagged anywhere else in the fight, I'd be dead. There's no way I'm surviving any of these with all of this prowess. But now we come out of that, we have one more special 2, and we finish it off. And I basically felt like my season ended here. I have another fight after this, but like that was the one where I was like, okay, I'm still alive. I was literally shaking. I knew I could eat 3 of them, and I did. So that was terrifying. Do not recommend that. Props to NewN for picking their bans intelligently, setting up the map. We didn't have a lot of options for that. So I'm glad I was able to get it done. Moving on to this Mangog, you've seen me take this before. I actually almost died to this earlier this season when I made a bit of a strategic mistake. This round is better. This one is a good one to show your friends if any of them are taking it. We, of course, power start. We have power backs here. They do almost nothing for Reed, but I do find it kind of comforting at times, not going to lie. The Galan synergy is actually helping us a little bit. You saw that we got some extra power from the shock expiring there. It's going to happen again in a second. And so that's just going to get us ramped that much faster. We go ahead and throw this. He's only at 1 bar, which is really important because it means we'll probably have time to bait out this special 1 with the heavy there. Okay, maybe not that heavy, maybe the next heavy. Cool. And so now we have the passive, and we know his next special will be unblockable and unstoppable, but it won't be a special 2, which helps. We throw another special 1 here, because he doesn't throw that one. It's like he doesn't know he's taunted or something. And then after I trigger Dex, which I try not to do in this fight, he finally throws it. We throw another special 1 because we can just cycle them once we have the passive up. Knock him down again to get the pause on our debuffs. They are loving their unfazed. I feel like there's a chance... Or no, we can't pick things for our opponents anymore. That's just general good practice. Applaud that. But yeah, as I've said before with this fight, as soon as the first rage ends, it's basically over with Reed. There's no way Mangog is going to become a threat a second time. So you just have to prep yourself for him going into it, stay alive through it, you're good to go. And so that concludes my war, and wraps up my only second deathless season ever. I've had a bit of a string of just missing it by 1 lately, so I'm really happy to get this one. It feels good. I do feel like I've been playing well, and I feel like I have definitely had to save myself from a few sketchy fights this season. And so, yeah, proud of that. And again, proud of the battle group. I know I've said it enough times that people are probably a little sick of it, but after those 2 wars in a row that were really not great, we had donut, 1 off of a donut, donut, 1 off of a donut. So 2 deaths in the last 4 wars, including this one. It's just a really, really solid performance as a battle group, and I'm so proud of everyone in there. Happy to have them with me. It's been a real pleasure this season, and SSx should be in top 10 before bans, which have not gone out, or sorry, docs, which have not happened as of the making of this video. We'll see where we end up ultimately, but just, as I've said before, our goal is an Alliance as Masters. Really, really happy to make top 10 for the 4th season in a row with this very fine group of people. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and until next time, thanks so much for watching, and take care.